friends, Jacqueline here. In today's video, I'm bringing you my review, swatches, and 3 eye looks using the brand new NATASHA DENONA Triochrome eyeshadow palette. But before we get started, and if you're new here, I hope that you will consider and subscribe to my channel, ring that post notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads, and come and follow me on my Instagram. And now, if you are ready to know all the details about this very anticipated launch from NATASHA DENONA and the 3 looks, then just keep on watching. This is a much anticipated launch from NATASHA DENONA. It's her Triochrome eyeshadow palette. I have it right here. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to bring this to you. Look at this unicorn. Isn't it this fabulous? This eyeshadow palette costs $129. It's not her midi palette, it's one of her bigger size palettes. Now, this palette is now available to pre-order at NATASHA DENONA's website, and you will be available to pick it up starting from November 3rd at Sephora's website, NATASHA DENONA's website, and then on November 6th is when it's coming into stores. And then, I will be leaving all the details most likely on my Instagram, because NATASHA DENONA, this is something that I have been loving about her. On her Instagram post, she leaves exactly the dates for each of her launches and by country. So I think that is super helpful. So I have it right here. Oh my goodness. And by the way, for those who do not know, and if you are new here to my channel, I'm so grateful that you are here. I'm so grateful to all of you for spending time out of your day to be right here with me. And I just want you to know that I film in natural light, so hopefully give you the best representation of how the palette it will look like in real life, in person. But going back into the palette, this palette has a shelf life of 24 months. It's made in Italy. It costs again $129. It comes with 15 eyeshadows. 12 of them are matte shades and 3 of them are multi-chromes. Now, I think she named the palette Triochrome because there are 3 multi-chrome eyeshadows. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's the case. Now, right here it says that this palette is paraben free, and it is oil free, preservative free, UV filters free, alcohol free, mineral oil free, and is not tested on animals. Let's go ahead and unveil the palette. I'm so excited to have gotten my hands on this pen. So here it is. This is it. Wow, isn't this so beautiful? I love the chipped. And then on the back, if you're new to NATASHA DENONA eyeshadow palette, for the ones that they come in the plastic compact, you will see has little pink holes right here, so you can insert a pin and just basically, move around your eyeshadows. And in fact, I do have a series here on my channel that I have made a little bit of a pause, but basically creating a, say, mini NATASHA DENONA palette or a full-size NATASHA DENONA palette with existing shades from her line. So that's a lot of fun. So if you have some time, I will leave the playlist. Anyhow, my friends, so here you go. And I love this detail right here. You see right here is kind of like a magenta pink. Let's just open it up. Now this palette comes with a very nice size mirror, and see if you can see a flip on them. This is just so colorful, and she hasn't come out with a large size palette for a little while right now. Also, her most colorful palette was a Tropics palette, and that one didn't receive like the greatest reviews, but I'm one of those people that I actually like that palette. And we're gonna go into comparisons and all of that. I think I'm gonna create 3 looks today with this palette, and that way we can get a really good test on how this eyeshadow works. So let's go first into the swatches. And the way that NATASHA DENONA has explained how she has arranged this color story is by row. So basically you're able to create a look with this row, another look with this row, another look with this row, type of thing, and then the only repeated shade right here is Scarab, which actually comes on her new Chromium liquid eyeshadows, which I have done a full-on review on that one, so if you want to take a look at it, you may. So okay friends, let's start. I'm going to start making the swatches like row by row. So here are the first 3 shades, and here's the multi-chrome. Wow, That's Scarab. And by the way, all the matte shades on this eyeshadow palette are from her creamy matte formula. Okay, let's go for it. Scrap, Androdite, Scarab, Ion, Vert, Naga, Manganese, Kinetic. Kinetic is the other multi-chrome, and it does have a chief of what it seems like a little bit of blue, mostly purple. Scarab has a chief between gold and green. Redox, Tungsten, Vertex, Plutonium, Color Flip, Garmon, Diatonic. And this shade right here, Color Flip, has a little bit of like green, then lilac, pink. I think this one right here is the one that has the most like dimension out of all of them. So there you go, here are all the swatches. Okay, I have gone ahead and swatched the 3 multi-chrome shades. So I have here Scarab, Kinetic, and then Color Flip. So you can see them in action right here. And I'm just gonna swatch them on my hand side by side. Scarab, Kinetic, and Color Flip. Okay friends, now that I got you closer right here, I want to mention something just in case, again, if you're new here. When I do a review of any eyeshadow palette, I don't put any primer. I just go ahead and use my concealer, set it with a little bit of setting powder, and then just take it from there. And the reason why I do it is because I don't want to give any help to the eyeshadows. I basically just want to see what are their payoff, you know, just by themselves, because I know primers, they're gonna make the eyeshadow not only last longer but also look more vibrant. So we're just gonna go with whatever it is right now, and I'm gonna actually do 3 looks. The first look, I'm gonna do it just as suggested from NATASHA Denona by using each row. So I'm gonna do, my first look is gonna be this one right here, Scott Barnes number 62 brush in the shade Vertex, and I'm gonna take this shade and apply it all over the eyelid. Now this shade is kind of like a bone shade. I don't think it's gonna make any difference on my skin tone, and you have a light to medium skin tone. Scott Barnes number 62 brush, and I'm gonna go to the shade Plutonium. She's a beautiful mango yellow shade, so pretty. And I'm gonna take it on my outer third. Sonia G Classic Crease and the shade Diatonic. Now what I'm noticing right here, even when I swatch the eyeshadows, is that they have a little bit of fallout. I'm going to take this shade and I'm going to apply it from the inner portion of my eyelid all the way until it meets that mango shade. Sonia G Mini Booster and the shade Garmon. And I'm going to take this shade and apply it on my outer V. And also I'm going to take it a little bit above the crease. You know what? I feel like I have lost a little bit of that shade Plutonium, the mango shade. So I'm going to go back again with this shade. And I'm using a BK Beauty 203 brush. And I'm just going to apply it again, kind of like in that area. I just want to see if that shade can be built up a little. Sonia G Builder Pro and the shade Color Flip. Now I'm going to apply it completely dry on my eyelid, and I'm just going to try to do kind of like from here, from the inner part, and then kind of to meet in the middle with that mango shade. Kind of reminds me a little to Infra Nude though. Although this has a little bit more lilac and not as much pink as Infra Nude. I'm going to use the same multi-chrome, but I'm going to wet it with some MAC Fix Plus. I still feel that I'm losing that mango shade. So I'm just gonna apply a little more. BK Beauty 204 brush and the shade Garmon. I'm gonna take this shade and apply it on my lower lash line. And for the inner corner, I'm gonna go to the shade Vertex with Refer 03 brush. And also putting it on my brow bone. Now let's move on to this eye, and I'm gonna do a look with the second row. So first I'm gonna go with the Scott Barnes number 62 brush and the shade Naga. I'm gonna do kind of like a light process. I'm just gonna take these all over the eyelid. Sigma E27 brush and the shade Tungsten. And I'm gonna take this shade and apply it on the outer third. And also taking it on the crease. Sonia G Soft Shader and the shade Manganese. And I'm applying this shade on the outer corner of the eyelid. Just again, kind of like building up the intensity right there. Going back with Sigma E27 brush and the shade Tungsten. And I want to take this shade and kind of like intensify a little bit more the inner portion. I keep a base right here. Sonia G Builder Pro and the shade Kinetic. And I'm taking this shade right in the middle of my eyelid. And this is that multi-chrome. Now I'm gonna go ahead and use a MAC Fix Plus and just spray it. Taking that eyeshadow and just putting a little bit on the front. Refer 03 brush and the shade Naga. I'm applying these on my inner corner and on my brow bone. BK Beauty 204 brush and the shade Tungsten. I'm taking this shade on my lower lash line. Sonia G Flat Definer and the shade Manganese. And I'm taking this shade and applying it very close to my lower lash line. I'm also going to take it up on my upper lash line. I think that this same shade that I'm using right now, I can even use it right here to make a little bit more intense this eye look. Shall we do that? Let's just do it. Just to give a little bit more definition. As here there are the two looks. Okay, my friends, now we're gonna go into the final look. I'm gonna use the top row with all those greens. I know, who am I, right? Using greens. Sonia G Jumbo Blender and the shade Androdite. And I'm taking this shade and applying it all over my eyelid. BK Beauty 203 brush and the shade Ion. And I'm taking this shade and I'm gonna apply it on my mobile lid. Sigma E25 brush and the shade Vert. It's kind of like a chartreuse color. I'm going to take it on the outer third of my eyelid. Sonia G Mini Booster and the shade Scrap. And I'm dipping it out my outer corner. I'm taking this shade also a little bit above the crease. It's kind of like an army green shade. Sonia G Builder Pro and the shade Scarab. I'm going to take this shade, let's see, let's first work it middle of eyelid. Doing the same thing as before, I'm going to go ahead and spray my brush with some MAC Fix Plus and see if I can intensify that shade. Oh yes. Refer 03 brush and the shade Androdite. And I'm going to take this shade on my inner corner, and with whatever is remaining, I'm going to take it to my brow bone. BK Beauty 204 and the shade Vert. Taking it on my lower lash line. Sonia G Flat Definer and the shade Scrap. I'm going to apply it very close to my lower lash line. And I'm gonna define my upper lash line again with that same shade. Now that I'm completely done with the different eye looks, let's jump into comparisons. Honestly, I don't have any eyeshadow palette that looks, exactly the same, with the exception of my favorite friend, Mel Thompson and Sydney Grace, and her Tiny Marbles palette. So, these two right here, they are very close in, very close in terms of color story. But the only thing is, the one from Tiny Marbles doesn't have many multi-chromes. It only have this duochrome right here that is amazing, stunning. So let's Manganese, Natasha Denona, Boogaboo Tiny Marbles, Tungsten, Love Bug, Titanic, and Flutterby. In essence, the color story is alike, but also the finishes are different. On the Tiny Marbles, you get more metallic shades aside to the matte shades, and then this gorgeous duochrome right here. This is amazing. Just for comparisons to see how it looks against Scarab. So I'm gonna go first with Scarab, and then Scarab from Tiny Marbles. There are two different finishes. And now let's go also for Color Flip. Not the same as the one from Tiny Marbles. Natasha Denona, Tiny Marbles, and then Natasha Denona. Since I already have Color Flip from Natasha Denona right here already swatched, let me go ahead and grab my Divine Rose number 2 palette, and let's go to, what was called this? Sextraterrestrial. And this one has an amazing flip. So let's just see right here. See the flip that this one has? Now, although the color stories are completely different between this new one and Tropic, I think there's just a couple of shades that we can compare. Starting with Naga and Zena. Ditonic, Peach Puff. Now let's compare it with Safari, Scrap, Savannah. Now these two shades, to the eyes are pretty much identical. Manganese and Mazai. Tungsten and Lotus. So perhaps that Lotus shade from Safari may look more like this one that is called Redox. No, it's a little bit cooler in tone though. Let's do Diatonic and Plutonium, and then right in the middle, Desert Date. Let's go to Sunrise Palette, Diatonic, Morgan, let's go for Plutonium and Citrine. Let's also try Carnelian. Let's compare with the Love Palette, shade Manganese and Trust. And I'm gonna make room, right here. Now I'm gonna go to the Viva palette, and by the way, if you want to see the size difference, these two are the same size. And let's go to the shade Vertex and Task. I wanted to compare it with Lila palette, but honestly, there's not much alike to it. This has a little bit more cooler tone than what you see on the new palette. So let's skip Lila. Now I want to compare Infra Nude with this color flip shade. So here on the top I have color flip, and now let's take this right here. Infra Nude has more peach in it. Now let's go with Kinetic. I'm gonna put it right here, and I'm gonna swatch it against Dragonfly from her Chromium Liquid Shadows. The Dragonfly has a lot more pink in it. So definitely all of them very, very different. And now that I have tried each single of the eyeshadows that comes on this palette, I think I'm ready to give you my honest feedback, my raw feedback right here. First things first, this palette, it comes with a hefty price tag. It's $129. If you're able to get it through Sephora, you're now gonna be able, I think the sale runs until the 9th of this month. I will be putting all the details of the sale on the description box below. But for those who are Rouge members, they are able to get 20% off. Those who are VIBs, they will get 15% off, and those who are insiders, 10% off. Now, if you are not a Sephora insider, it's very simple. You just need your email and your telephone number, nothing more than that, and then you're able to get a discount. But regardless, it's $129, and it doesn't matter if you have a discount, yet it's a very hefty price tag for this eyeshadow palette. Now, I will have to say this palette is for those who want to play with color. If you're a person that you just use nudes on everyday basis and you don't go out of your comfort zone, this palette will just collect dust on your collection, and it will not be worth it for you to get it at that point. But if you're a person that is like, you know what, I really like to play with colors from time to time, maybe once or twice a week, then this palette may be still for you. Another thing that I like about this palette is the color story. It's playful, it's different, it's something that, like I said, it's just playful. It just takes you to different colors. They are not all super vibrant. They are more in the muted side, which I like, with the exception of like these kind of like base shades, which there aren't that many, but I like the color story. I like the selection is different. I also like the way that she arranged it, and although I'm a person that I don't like to wear too much green on my eyes, I kind of enjoy this eye look. I think it's different. It's more kind of like that night out type of look, and I like it. And then I see myself using a lot these shades right here, these shades over here. I mean, my peach tones, I love them. Purple tones, I love them. Now, what about the formulation? I found that this formula is not as consistent as other palettes from Natasha Denona. From the moment that I start swatching them, they didn't feel as, I mean, these are not the cream to powder formula. These are the creamy matte formula, but they didn't feel dry, but they felt more loose. That they were not like densely packed, and therefore I had a little bit of fallout on the palette. But when applied on my eyelids, and as you were able to tell on my demonstration, I didn't have any problems with eyeshadows falling out. Now, I honestly went into the eyeshadow and then tapped the excess off, so that could be it. And also, I'm not a person that digs into my eyeshadows. I'm very delicate when I go to any of my eyeshadows, but I just want you to, you know, take that into account. If you had experience with Natasha Denona, you will know the difference as soon as you touch them, swatch them, etc. Now, they do have full pigmentation. The shades that I had a little bit of trouble with were this one right here. I was kind of losing that shade. Like I didn't blend it, I had it there, and all of a sudden I see like it started disappearing on me, and I'm sure you were able to see that on the demo. And then this shade right here, I was impressed that I find it to be a little bit harder to blend, for certain areas a little bit patchy. Now listen, I do have, I'm 40 years old, so my eyelids, they are not as firm as once upon a time. I do have texture on my eyelids, mostly in this side right here, so it could be part of my eyelid. It could be that I may need a primer on that. I'm not trying to justify anything, because I had usually a very like a straightforward experience with Natasha Denona eyeshadows, and I'm able to blend, but on this one in particular it was harder to blend. Surprisingly, this shade right here and this shade right here, they were not chalky. Same thing with this shade. I mean, sometimes when we see those shades we think, oh, they are going to be chalky. They were not. I mean, they have a white base to begin with, so expect obviously that vibrancy, something very different. That's why I said, you know, this palette is meant to be for those who like, you know, colorful eyeshadows. Another thing too to consider is here you receive pretty much all mattes and just 3 of multi-chromes, and I wish in a way that Natasha Denona will give us, instead of 3 multi-chromes, 5 multi-chromes. I mean, like all this row right here, because to me that would have made it a little bit more, I shouldn't say worth it, but I mean it would have justified a little bit more the $129, regardless if I paid it or not with a discount, okay? Or otherwise, if she could have gave us maybe just 2 more metallics mixing in here, 2 or 3, that would have been really nice to see, just something a little bit different. Now, what I think about the multi-chrome eyeshadows right here. Okay, so Scarab is the one that is the most potent, okay? And now Scarab comes already on her Chromium liquid eyeshadow. So if you have that one, that knocks out 1 shade out of the palette right here, right? And then if we go to the shade Kinetic, honestly, I didn't saw much of a flip, and I was like, it just looked kind of like a metallic shade, but not really even potent or even very like super metallic, but a little bit on the dual side. And then this shade right here, perhaps Scarab and Color Flip are the 2 that I like the most. This one I was able to really see the flip on shades. So now that I have you right here and all of it, I know we already went into comparisons, and this is not in any way to compare, and I don't even think that these eyeshadows are available. If they are, I will put them on the description box below. But I have here my Sydney Grace eyeshadow palette, and I have here 3 of their multi-chromes. So let's see right here. First, I'm gonna go with Chameleon, and now this is not to compare the flip that they have, but just their intensity. So this right here, Chameleon, has a little bit of blue in it that is just extraordinary, and at the same time they are not only multi-chromes, but they are metallic. Do you see how metallic this one from Sydney Grace it is? So let's go here. That is from Natasha Denona, and then this one right here from Sydney Grace. See that flip right there? Same thing that what happened with when I swatch against to the Divine Rose number 2 from Pat McGrath, that, you know, like that you can still see that metallic foil shade. Now let's go with this shade right here, Kinetic, okay? This one, I honestly don't see much of a flip. I think it has to do with the base of the eyeshadow. It seems like it has kind of like a grayish base, and it doesn't really, you know, shine through. And now I have this shade right here, which is called Beurre Gardet. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry, but here you go. I'm gonna swatch it. Now look at the difference right there. You see that intensity? I mean, look at the flip and the intensity right there. Okay, and then last, let's go for Color Flip, which to me is the one that I think I like the most out of the 3. And I'm gonna go with this shade right here, Twisted Shifter. Now again, I'm not comparing the flip of these eyeshadows, I'm just comparing the intensity of the eyeshadows, the finish of the eyeshadows. So here you go, that's from Natasha, and that's from Sydney Grace. I think by now we all know that, I mean, the ones who came out with all the multi-chromes, you know, eyeshadows, they were indie brands like Sydney Grace, Cleona. I mean, I'm sorry if I'm not naming many because I honestly do not have many single eyeshadows from other brands because I dedicated my channel a little bit more into the luxury world and mainstream brands. But I do appreciate brands like Sydney Grace, like indie brands. I do appreciate them because they always bring something new that perhaps not many know about because, you know, bigger brands like NATASHA DENONA. But what I'm saying is, like, I don't want to say that it let me down. I think overall it's a very pretty palette, but I know it did have more potential, mostly because why repeating a shade that you already have on your liquid eyeshadow? Why this shade right here doesn't have a flip of a multi-chrome? So I'm left out with one shade right here. So overall to me it's like, okay, I enjoy the palette. I know I'm gonna use the palette, but I feel a little bit like, okay, I really want multi-chromes that are really like super powerful. Obviously Scarab is amazing, Color Flip is amazing, one is a dab, but I'm thinking about, okay, if I already got these right here, that you know I got them all, it's like, why I have to repeat a Scarab? Hopefully it makes sense. Okay, my friends, and I think this makes it for this video and my review. I hope that really helps you to determine whether this eyeshadow palette is for you or not. I really want to know, what are you thinking about this palette? Are you planning to get it? Are you planning to pass on? Do you want to see it in person before, you know, getting your hands on it? You have to let me know. And while you're at it, I hope that you will consider and subscribe to my channel. Make sure you ring that post notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads. Here I upload frequently, a lot of reviews, hauls, first impressions, I mean, you name it, there's a lot right here, and I would love for you to become part of my family. And I will also love for you to come and follow me on my Instagram. Let's stay connected through there too, because right there on my Instagram I show you close-up images of the products that I'm reviewing and much more. If you like this video, do not forget to give it a thumbs up, also share with family and friends, and until the next time, I hope you have a beautiful, wonderful day. Bye!